haunted mines.
And we are live for some Thursday night Chair League action here in Heroes of the Storm. My name is Terra Spaz, and here to bring to you an excellent match between the Trim Bush meta on the blue and Snitches Get Stitches on the red. I think doing the token amount of research that I've been trying to do for matches, I believe this is Snitches Get Stitches' first game in Chair League. They're new to Season 4, so got no history, no idea what they're capable of, no idea what sort of devastating schemes they may have, but they are the away team, so Haunted Mines comes from their minds. Hopefully they've got a plan. Hopefully they've got a plan in. But Trim Bush meta isn't a huge veteran to Chair League either. They've only got a few matches under their belt from Season 3, enough to get a solid placement in Division 2, I believe, and they're here to continue that climb up the ladder, and they're going to do so by starting out banning Tassadar, who can certainly have a lot of value down in the mines. It's cards on the table. I haven't had a whole lot of experience on the new Haunted Mine, maybe 10 or 12 games, not much more than that. And so I'm not entirely sure what the correct strategy is. At some point I was led to believe that the objective isn't all that valuable, and you're better off getting experience and pushing lanes while the other team goes downstairs to collect seeds, or skulls rather. And then another time I've heard that it's the most important thing in the world, and if you don't get skulls, you're just signing yourself up for failure. So no idea what we'll see from each. No idea what's going to come out, and that's couldn't be more exciting. Sylvanas the ban out, and Sylvanas was one of the premier picks on old Haunted Mines. He had a golem continually pushing the same lane over. Sylvanas just skyrocketed the value of that grave golem just by herself, just buildings. That value has certainly not gone to waste here either. Ragnaros, the first pick from Trim Bush meta, and that's a fairly valuable play, especially if you know when and where the enemy team is going to come engage you at your towers. Being able to make that tower a temporarily invincible death-dealing machine, something that should be able to contain a lot of value. Meanwhile, Stitches Get Stitches don't pick Stitches for their opening heroes. Instead, ETC and Malfurion, the best buddies forever, being able to stun people and root them in place and really enable the rest of their team to explode out damage on a single target or maybe a pair of targets. But the nice thing about picking them up early is they rotate into a lot of good follow-ups. They've got 3 hero slots left, and there's a lot they could put in there to really get a bunch of value out of that lockdown. Even more so on a 2-lane map, it's not as hard to design a scenario where they're together. I really like that pick on most 2-lane maps.
Fight to my last breath.
And Trim Bush meta are producing something scary indeed. Rhaegar and Li Ming clearly prioritizing just bucket loads of damage on the side of Trimmed Bush meta with Ragnaros, Li Ming, Rhaegar. They're clearly coming into this game looking to do some damage, and definitely prioritizing the ability to do. So I would expect them to pick up 1 or 2 more frontline heroes, someone to protect Rhaegar, someone to protect Li Ming. Ragnaros does a good job of punishing out some damage and enabling some escapes, but I think they're going to need more than that in order to really build that wall. But Diablo doesn't look like, I don't know, Stitches Get Stitches kind of waffling between Diablo and Muradin. They're clearly here thinking they take away a big beefy warrior with them on the button for next pick, and knowing that that's clearly something that Trim Bush meta is lacking in their team makeup so far. I like the Muradin ban. It's fairly solid, and especially with Rhaegar, Muradin being able to kind of tend to his own health pool really eases the burden on Rhaegar's men. That would have been a good pick for Trim Bush, and I think it was very apt of Snitches take him off the table. Meanwhile, Trim Bush meta have options of their own. Snitches get stitches, still lacking lots of damage. Fortunately, this isn't like a year ago where there were only a small handful of damage options. There's plenty of things Snitches can pick up to augment. Really a matter of, with the rest of their comp in mind, what would punish it? What do they not want to face on the other side? Because Snitches is going to get something that'll make it work, but maybe not as well. And Jaina the pickup, or the ban rather, from Trim Bush. That's a big scary hero when you can't move. It's hard enough to get away from Jaina when you're slow and sluggish, but when you're stunned and rooted, it's just a recipe for instant death. And I like this Taika Sonya a lot from Snitches Get Stitches. They're just continuing to pour into that big front wall and self-sustain between T and really help out the sort of slow healing over time that Mel. And with Tychus here, it's if Trim Bushman is looking to get one large beefy tank, someone like Ana for instance, or maybe even Diablo, Tychus can really just lay into that hero. Just having one target, being able to, all right, when the fight's coming out, I'm gonna hit this person as hard as I can. Can be a powerful thing and sort of predetermine your plan for team fights. So I think it's a wise pickup from Snitches so far. They've still got some room for more damage. Not only Trim Bush meta is going to pick up Kelthus, and there's the Diablo, the engager extraordinaire, trying to find someone and put him in harm's way. There's quite a bit of follow-up here, too. If he can just put someone out of position for just a little bit, there's an absurd amount of damage coming out of Trim Bush meta to really blow them up. And additional crowd control if needed, but I don't think it's going to be. Between Ragnaros, Leeming, Kelthus, they should be able to detonate most heroes. Beyond say Sonya. Possibly. Really anybody else they can get to should be an instant explosion. So I would expect team fights to go a lot like that. If the fight is over quickly, I think it's going to benefit Trim Bush meta. They're likely benefit from trying to get a quick pick, and then if they don't get a substantial damage done in the first couple seconds, they may back off and regroup for a bit. But Snitches Get Stitches have the slow, sluggish push. They've got Sonya, they've got Tychus. They have the ability to stand somewhere and full defense. So we'll see how that pays out for them. And we are live, loaded into Haunted Mines here in Week 1 of Chair League Season 4. On the red team, representing Snitches Get Stitches, we've got Majesty on Tychus, Andariana on Sonya, Bandito 4 on ETC, Jamster on Malfurion, and Tryhard on Gul'dan. And on the blue team, representing Trim Bush Mesha, spinning in place, we've got FRC Shoryuken on Kelthus, Angita on Ragnaros, Chilla on Rhaegar, Dusky on Ling, and Thor's Tackhammer on Diablo. Gates are down, teams are rushing headlong along different lanes. There's no immediate engagement here in the mid. It's kind of a guessing game where each team is going to head out, but it looks like both teams have claimed vision and said we're going to send the bulk of our force here to the bottom lane and see how things are going to fan out. I'm not sure. I think Stitches have sight on at least Diablo. I don't know how much of Trim Bush meta they've seen. They must suspect that Diablo can't be here by himself. He's got to have support. throwing down the gauntlet a little bit early, a little bit of B-stepping coming out of Snitches Get Stitches, but overall playing fairly safe, very cautiously. It's the first week of the season. You don't want to start things off with a silly mistake or a silly mispositioning. So both teams, if anything, erring on the side of caution, but so far so good on both teams. No real damage out for anyone just yet, although we may have an engagement here against Diablo as the stun, the roots, the damage comes out and his health pool evaporates, dropping to fairly critical levels with not much of a retaliation from Trim Bush meta. Diablo is going to be forced to tap, and so that will be unavailable if he gets caught out in round 2. ETC coming in on Kel'Thas, the damage now coming in on ETC. Power Slide not available to get him out of harm's way, and now the damage comes onto him. So both teams scrapping down in the mid lane. Meanwhile, a pretty even contest between Ragnaros and Sonya, although like Rag had to tap as well. So it is going to be a bit of a scrum up there in the top lane. A big shove from Diablo, getting ETC out of harm's way, or into harm's way, and getting himself out of the roots. Damage not quite available to take him out. Brian's open in just a couple seconds, and Trim Bush meta looking to grab this siege camp as quickly as possible so that it can push during the objective. But Snitches Get Stitches trying to get the steal, can't quite find an inroad, and opting just to pick a camp of their own. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Tychus leaving Ragnaros to do his Ragnarosan thing, and we'll see if Rag goes into the mines after him. But it looks like the answer is going to be no. Rag's going to go pick up some camps of his own, and teams are hungrily snatching up skulls here in the bottom. Both fairly safe, got a good idea of where each other is. One common trick that's easy to overlook on this map is to see where skulls disappear. You can watch on the mini-map to see where when skulls disappear, so you can kind of deduce where the other team is going to be. Got a little bit of patience. So right now, both teams aware of where each other is. Trim Bush meta trying to find some sort of engagement. Diablo looking for that pick, but Roots are going to say, nope, never mind, not right now. Oh, but here comes the pick on Tychus. Can Diablo get the grab? No, ETC sliding in to try and save him, but Kel'Thas just detonating him with a huge flame strike. And that's going to be the first takedown of the game in favor of Trim Bush meta, forcing Snitches Get Stitches to retreat. And so with this, Trim Bush meta, if left uncontested, should have a substantial advantage in skull count. But Snitches Get Stitches say, you know what, we can't win that fight right now, so let's go start another fight and win that one. And doing a lot of damage here in the top, getting Ragnaros a little caught out of position, but it should be fairly safe despite that. And so it's worth noting that despite that takedown and that experience deficit, Snitches Get Stitches have now taken a slight lead in experience despite surrendering that quick takedown. A little short-lived perhaps, but certainly better to be at parity than trailing. And they're getting a notable amount of structure damage done for them. That's a lot of time they've been available to just do what they want to do up here in top, while Trim Bush meta was cleaning house at bottom. And it's worth noting that the mine still contained 3 skulls, and if I understand this map correctly, the golems do continue to scale up for a fixed amount of time. So the more time passes before those skulls are collected, the stronger those golems are going to get. With Trim Bush metas getting proportionally stronger because they have a higher skull count. Up until a certain point. I think it's 3 or 4. But there've been a lot of patches, and there's a lot of notes, and I haven't read them all, so don't take just my word for it. Feel free to leave a note in chat and tell me if I'm wrong. Big engagement here in the bottom lane. Snitches Get Stitches trying to push this siege camp in to maybe try and finish off this fort, but it looks like they're going to get stuck and taken out. But that's not the only thing that's going to get taken out, is Rhaegar's stunned and slowed to oblivion, and he will fall. First takedown for the side of Snitches Get Stitches, and the brawl rolls on. Snitches Get Stitches using their staying power to just continually put pressure on this fort, prevent Trim Bushmesha from really leaving and getting anything else accomplished on the map, leaving it kind of in the hands of Ragnaros. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Sonya and Ragnaros, Sapper Camp versus Siege Camp, battle of the century. But these should eventually clean each other out. One of the Sappers is already gone. Meanwhile, the action here back in the bottom lane. Tychus got a lot of damage on him. Diablo trying to get the finish off, but his health might be just a bit too low. A bit of a risky engagement, and he will fall to the damage from Snitches Get Stitches. So another 1 for nothing. And you know, this may be the strategy, may be paying off for Snitches Get Stitches. Saying, you know what, we don't want the golems right now. We want to get an experience lead as quickly as we can, and you know what? Take your time. We're in no rush to get those last seeds. You do see Li Ming picking them up, trying to scramble and get those golems right now. So we should see them here in just a moment as Li Ming's collecting the last seed. Meanwhile, a bit of a steal here from Snitches Get Stitches, trying to get this Sapper Camp 3-on-3, and it looks like they're not willing to finish this off, trying to regroup. Now 4-on-4. ETC leaping in there, trying to get the damage out on Kel'Thas, and he takes a great deal of damage. Diablo falling fairly low as well, and Trim Bushmeta can't quite get the pick they want. They can't get the isolation to get him away from the rest of the low damage coming out of Stitches. And so credit to the positioning on Snitches Get Stitches. They know that their golem's going to spawn in the bottom lane first. They say, you know what, this is where we want the fight to go. This is, we know our golem's not quite as strong as the one from Trim Bushmeta, but if we're here, we can really capitalize on the damage that we've got, that our golem's going to allow us to do structures. And they're going to easily get the fort and maybe a little damage on the walls. Maybe that's a bit optimistic. But Trim Bushmeta doing a good job just cleaning this out, not surrendering another takedown. Both teams have heroics now, so we might see a big engagement here from ETC. Not so much quite yet. Tychus does pop his ultimate, trying to put some more damage out on the structures. Or Kel'Thas, for that matter, just trying to poke at these buildings from a distance. So I want to eventually check on top lane, but this slow grind from Snitches Get Stitches just continues on in the bottom, and it's hard to get away. But it looks like they finally said, "That's enough. We're awfully deep in enemy territory. Better go and recover some." So meanwhile, in the top lane, that overpowered golem did not get through the fort here in the top. So Snitches Get Stitches reacting well to what could have been a pretty negative situation. They were able to hold and even profit from it, as they're about half level ahead now. Now we see the rotation through the jungles, trying to get siege camps, mercenary camps, which are so important on this map, that we're going to see our first huge engagement coming down here at the bottom camp. Kel'Thas' health is erupting rapidly. An amazing Ancestral is going to save him from the brink of death. The damage comes down on ETC. Can he get away? It looks like the answer is maybe, but Ragnaros not so much, as the active Sapper camps just do a lot of damage to Trim Bushmeta, and I think they might have done, they might have considerably aided Snitches Get Stitches in that team fight. And it's going to be a 2 for nothing, and possibly Rhaegar as well. So a 3 for nothing in favor of Snitches Get Stitches, with fairly good reserves. Health pool's fairly decent on most of the heroes. They're escorting sappers in to take out this wall. They can start to think about putting some damage on the keep. They say, you know what, objective's up in a couple seconds. Let's see if we can maybe get a couple more camps pushing while we go try and take the lead on this one instead. Snitches Get Stitches in the mines first, trying to scoop up goals as quickly as possible. Trim Bushmeta saying, you know what, we're a little bit late to the party. Let's try and put some pressure on the top side of the map rather than the bottom. Talking in 3D here. Excuse me. So both teams kind of doing their own thing, not looking for any hard engagement right now. Heroics for both teams almost back up to speed. ETC about 30 seconds away. Everybody else Trim Bush meta fairly soon. And Trim Bush meta, seeing how well that plan worked for Snitches Get Stitches, realized, you know what? Let's just do some damage. We don't need a big mean Grave Golem telling us what to do. Let's go do our own thing. Let's forge our own destiny. So they do head into the mines with a 40-0 deficit. Can they get the engagement on ETC? Looks like no, able to power slide away. Trying to bomb up whatever seeds they can, whatever scraps have been left over for them. And Snitches Get Stitches now out of the mines, getting 40 they need to present a adequate, decent Grave Golem, but nothing too overpowered. But here they come. Snitches Get Stitches, looking for maybe an engagement here in what's a 5v4 scenario, as Ragnaros did hearth out. I don't know if they have visibility on that. But it looks like they do now, as they see 4 members of Trim Bush meta. The mosh pit does go down. The Horrify comes out. Trim Bush meta running deep into the enemy line. The Ancestral is going to keep Diablo alive, but not so much for Rhaegar. And there's a lot of damage out against Snitches as well. So it is going to discourage them from chasing and pursuing Sonya at low health, at low health. And I wonder how different that fight goes if Ragnaros doesn't have to go back to clean up that siege camp. Yeah, they lost Rhaegar, but they did a considerable amount of damage. They had one more big bad hero to deliver some hate blows, then maybe that could have gone different. But as it stands, Snitches Get Stitches have a big advantage here in the top lane, as they may be able to even steal this Sapper camp and really start putting the screws to Trim Bush meta. It looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Snitches Get Stitches getting there just in time, so they're going to have a big wave and a high-powered golem and a Sapper camp all barreling squarely down on the heap of Trimmed Bush meta. So Sonya in the bottom lane just trying to clean up the golem from Trimmed Bush, just to make sure it doesn't do an uncomfortable amount of damage to their bottom fort, but she should be able to clean it up fairly well. So here comes the push from Snitches Get Stitches. ETC on the wrong side of this wall, power sliding through, and he's gonna be put in harm's way. And just the total onslaught of abilities from Trim Bush meta is really gonna cost Snitches Get Stitches their best engaging tool at this particular position. So they're unfortunately not going to be able to get that keep, and Trim Bush meta holds on and mounts a good defense. And so that's what Trim Bush meta really needs to be looking for. Engagements like that where they can get one hero isolated from everybody else, whether that's through ETC sliding around, who's shown he's willing to be aggressive and initiate some fights for sure, or maybe Diablo's charge engagement. Can he get to Sonya here? It looks like the answer is going to be not quite. I think it's a level 16 talent at this stage of the game, but here comes Apocalypse, but a gigantic, colossal mosh pit. It's going to catch 4 members of Trim Bush meta. The follow-up silence, and Trim Bush meta is just evaporating from the map. 3 for nothing. Kel'Thas, well, I guess a 4 for nothing. Diablo respawning back at home, and Kel'Thas, the lone survivor from this with no mana, is going to have to hearth back and rejoin the fight at a later date. So Snitches Get Stitches have about 10 to 15 seconds of almost total map control, which should be able to award them this bottom keep without much challenge from Trim Bush meta. And that's a real dicey spot for Trim Bush meta right now, because the next golems for Snitches Get Stitches is going to push into bottom lane, and now there's effectively no defensive structures left to stop them. There's one brave little tower just trying to hang on, but nothing. Going to be just a speed bump on the way out. You're willing to bet. And Snitches Get Stitches not taking their foot off the gas. They're continuing to apply pressure to the map. They got a siege camp, Sapper camp rather, going in the bottom lane. Siege camp now going in bottom lane. There are a lot of problems that Trim Bush meta have to react to right now. They got to worry about catapults in the bottom. They got to worry about both those mercenary camps, and now they got to worry about siege camps. So, at this stage of the game, I know it's hard, but it's almost like Trim Bush meta has to get 16 as fast as they can and try for one last engagement where they can force a pick and really get an advantage on this game. Time is not on their side, and they either need to prevent this golem from spawning for as long as they can, so they can maybe equalize and get a keep up in the top lane, or get a pick on someone and force the fight, or I don't know. It looks like maybe they'll. Could they be pushing bottom structure here? No, that'd be pretty risky. Snitches would have total vision on them. That'd be a pretty tall order to pull that off and escape. Oh, but this is a bad spot for Tychus as he's caught up against a wall in a hard place. Diablo in hot pursuit. The zone out from Kalthus is gonna really restrict where people can go. A gigantic apocalypse, and Trimbush meta might be able to turn this around. They get the pick on ETC. Health pool's dropping very low. Sonya falls as well, and the rest of Snitches get Stitches in hot retreat. Malfurion doing an excellent job keeping everybody in harm's way, even though Li Ming running into all kinds of damage. She is going to fall from a full corruption blast. So 2 for 1 in favor of Trimmed Bush meta. And that's the engagement they're looking for. Tychus just, having nowhere to go, staring down Diablo and an actual stone wall. I think that more than anything, that gives them time to catch their breath, stabilize, and get a chance to start to exert their will on the map. Whether that's trying to scoop up as many skulls as they can from this boss, or abandoning it. But it looks like they're gonna try and scoop up what they can. Snitches get Stitches, trying to control the top section of the map. We see both lanes pushed very deep into Trimbush meta's territory, with multiple camps going on the map in their side, and Li Ming's gonna have to do some damage control here in the bottom lane, just to ensure that this golem doesn't have a free ride to their core in the bottom. Trimbush meta doing a good job of almost equalizing. A 58 or 52 to 48 is practically a trade-off, but Trimbush meta have a lot of problems to solve with this big wave, which will almost certainly get this keep here in the top lane. Sappers almost do it just on their own, and Trimbush meta needs to do it one more time. They need to find an engagement. They need to pick off one hero, make sure they're eliminated from the fight. And they need to do it fairly quickly. But Snitches get Stitches, not giving them the opportunity, not willing to risk disaster on this. Treating from top, allowing Trimbush meta to focus on bottom then. Between Ragnaros and all the damage pouring out of Trimbush meta, they might be able to prevent this golem from doing any core damage at all. Here's a bit of a follow-up from Snitches Get Stitches, trying to help this golem as best they can, but it's just not punching all that hard. The advantage of a golem is that it draws shots, that it has an enormous health pool, but all things considered, it doesn't do that much damage. I mean, at this stage of the game, it's a level 19 Grave Golem, about 50%. It did stone nothing. It fought Ragnaros for a little while, it scratched the shield of the core, but at the end of the day, it's like that golem didn't really exist. Not that was one-sided, though. The golem did fairly little for Trimbush meta as well, so all in all, equal to golems, get a pretty equal result. Nothing too scary or surprising here. And Trimbush meta taking a great deal of damage, having to clean up the camp and burn a couple ultimates just to zone the other team away. So if you're Trimbush meta, you gotta be wondering, where's the other team right now? Where are they? What are they doing? And the answer is they're coming up the bottom lane, looking to inflict a mortal wound on the core, and here they come. Trim Bush meta, Hearthen back to respond. Good attention to the minimap, letting them know where the other team is. And here comes the engagement. Snitches get Stitches so close to Storm Talents. I wonder if they should force this right now with a big minion wave at their side, or if they should wait just a few seconds and get Storm Talents. It looks like it's going to be the latter, trying to make sure they get those level 20 talents and get any advantage they can. But looks like it didn't come quite fast enough, and they will have to back off and wait for another wave or find another angle of attack. But good awareness and good rotation from Trim Bush meta to respond to what could have been a game loss. This is just such a hard spot. The only saving grace Trim Bush meta has right now is that you have a couple merc camps available to help keep the lanes pushed back so they can pay attention to other focus, other areas on the map. And they do have time. It's worth noting that it's going to take a while for this next set of golems to be active, and they should be able to get level 20 talents themselves before they're forced to engage into Snitches. They're keenly aware of this, trying to figure out where can we go that's going to be safe, where can we go that's going to put an impact on the map. And Snitches get Stitches haven't collected seeds that quickly. It looks like they were hoping for a rotation, hoping to find a pick, but the opportunity just wasn't there, so they're back on seed duty. And it's worth noting that, yeah, if Snitches get Stitches split apart, they could start collecting these camps a whole lot faster, but they can't afford a pick. They can't afford a takedown. And here comes the rotation down top lane. They've given vision to the other team. They're Hearthen back, so we should see an engagement once again here in the top lane. Trim Bush meta arriving just in time to try and mount a defense on this. Ragnaros trying to get on the keep. He does. Big wave of damage coming out. Can the engagements, can the picks occur? Are they real? And it looks like the answer is going to be not quite. Kelthus at dangerously low health, can't push the issue too hard, and it just gets Stitches retreat once again. This has got to be hugely frustrating for Trim Bush meta. They just got in position, they just started collecting some skulls, and they got a whopping 2 out of the deal before they had to retreat. And they really desperately need a pick here. They need to find someone. I don't know what that engagement's going to look like. Snitches to get Stitches have done a great job making that very difficult. They're not afraid to retreat. They're not afraid to let the map work for them. And there's really no sense of urgency coming out of Snitches get Stitches in terms of getting skulls, in terms of forcing an engagement. They're willing to just sit back and say, you know what? The longer you're here, the more our waves are going to grow, the more catapults we're going to spawn over the course of the game. Go ahead. Doesn't bother us that much. But here comes the engagement. Can they get the pick on Diablo and Li Ming? The answer is not quite. Cleanse popped out on Diablo. He will be able to walk to safety. The mosh pit catches Ragnaros and Diablo, but a big ancestral is going to make Diablo's health fairly huge. Storm Shield's going to catch a whole bunch of people. Big silence from Malfurion. Still no takedowns. But the first one is going to be on Diablo. He will be able to spawn in health. A huge sulfurous smash. Trying to get a pick or maybe lead some people to safety, but so far a relatively good disengagement from Trim Bush. They only lost Diablo, and he had his 100 souls, so he's able to get back and continues to go back and forth. Snitches get Stitches surging in, forcing a response, retreating, drawing this game out, and they're not in any hurry to win this game. The way they lose is by surrendering a pick at a bad time. And this may be the only opportunity that I've seen lately that Trim Bush meta could get one if they knew where Sonya was. Because there's 4 members on boss, but they don't see that even. So it's really hard for Trim Bush meta to know where they need to be and where they need to hit. But this could be it here if Diablo can get in there and get the engagement. It is a 5v4 if they can pursue, but Gonna be not quite. Snitches get Stitches, able to retreat to safety in the nick of time. Sonya joining them either way. So it is going to be a 5-on-5 and a gigantic engagement from Snitches get Stitches. A huge power slide, an enormous explosion of damage is going to instantly detonate 4 members of Trim Bush meta. And this you got to be looking at this and thinking this is certainly game, right? It's a full team wipe. We've got sappers and catapults poking at their core, and all Snitches get Stitches need to do is walk across the map, move the core, and they may not even need to do that, as catapults at this stage of the game doing heavy damage to the core. But that is gonna close this out. You know, from the beginning of the game, that it all came down to that bottom lane, and I wonder if you've seen several times Old Haunted Mine. Teams would ignore each other, totally ignore each other, and just push the boss lane as hard as they could until the game was over in a whopping 2 or 3 minutes. And with the fight being in the bottom lane that hard and that much structure damage going on both sides prior to the first boss, the fact that the boss was going to spawn 4 Snitches, wonder if that made the difference, because it certainly got a lot more damage out of that first boss, despite being down. It's easy to forget that for the first boss, or for the first grave golem, they were down almost 2-1 in skulls, and they were able to really capitalize on that. And so, like most maps, it looks like Haunted Mines is about understanding the exact impact that the map objective has. It isn't get the objective, win the game. It's just another tool on the map you can use to help you. And sometimes you can use tools the wrong way, and you know, a ruler's not a hammer. It can be a hammer, sort of. Sometimes you just really need it. But anyway, excellent match from both teams. It's good, great start to week 1. Got some excellent engagements there, and despite not coming out on top, Trim Bush meta put up some really solid defenses there towards the end of the game, and it looks like they were trying to get the engagements they wanted, but Snitches just weren't letting them have it. They were playing very safely, just playing very cautiously, and not letting Diablo isolate one hero. As is what. But anyway, my name's been Terra Spaz, and unfortunately there is only one W, and today that W goes to Snitches Get Stitches. So congratulations to them, and I will see y'all in the Nexus. Take care.